Hey, something is out of whack in modern sports. FIFA wants to run players to the ground. Pitchers keep blowing elbows, and Achilles tendons keep snapping in b-ball. Analytics have made play styles so boring.
Well, I think that the end of the day is professional sports has so much money attached to it in terms of contracts, Matthew, that these athletes train 11 months out of the year. And you can get bigger and you can get bulkier and you can get stronger. But the one thing that doesn't change is your Achilles tendon or your elbow ligament or your rotator cuff. And that's what's happened. That's the preponderance of Achilles injuries in the NBA this year, pretty high. And you go across the street to the NFL, we've seen a preponderance of torn calf injuries and Achilles injuries there. Why? Bigger, stronger, explosive players, boom, but your legs can't hold up to it because the Achilles doesn't get stronger as the body gets bigger and more physical. And the exact same thing with pitchers. Velocity, spin rates, physical force on the arm, bigger, stronger guys throwing harder, more stress on the elbow. The only thing doesn't change in weight training, elbow ligament. That's why the Dodgers lead the world, and they're the epicenter of all the injuries. It's a great question. That's my explanation. Does that make any sense to you?
It does make a lot of sense to me. But you know what's the one common thread through that whole thing, besides they're bigger, faster, stronger, is that there's so much money on the line.
Yep.
You know, so all these players are doing everything they can to get their body in that kind of shape so they can throw 100 miles an hour. The leagues are, you know, these soccer schedules are like 52 weeks a year. They're getting run into the ground. You're absolutely right. And analytics, this is interesting, just the way basketball has changed. I mean, very few people take short range jumpers. You know, it's either a slam dunk, a layup, or a 3-point shot.
With the exception of SGA, the MVP, his mid-range jump shots, his ability to get that stuff off in traffic. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is a complete superstar.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it.
Okay, Matthew, thank you.
Okay, let's go here to John. And he goes, hey, well, AJ, you'll get to see what you miss with James Wood in left field at Petco tonight. Sorry, but you're not getting him back.
Now, he's talking about James Wood, the left fielder that was kind of one of the cornerstones of a significant trade that really helped Washington. We're talking about the Juan Soto deal from Washington to San Diego. C.J. Abrams has turned out to be a really good shortstop. The pitcher, Mackenzie Gore, has had stretches where he's been really dominant, but they just don't have enough players in Washington to put around the four Padre players they got. The other one was, I think, the young outfielder, Robert Hassel, was up, and then they sent him back to AAA just last week. But no, Washington, they've got core players. They don't have enough players right now, and they're going through a bad ownership situation with the Lerner family, putting it up for sale, taking it off the sales block. Somebody want to buy the franchise. They really need new ownership that's going to commit to spend more money. I don't think Mike Rizzo's in jeopardy as general manager, but the rebuild has been slow. And you know, I don't think Dave Martinez is in trouble because Rizzo just gave him a vote of confidence. It was very frustrating because they're sub 500 again. And it wasn't that long ago that they had Bryce Harper and they had Juan Soto and they had Steven Strasburg. And these guys were all the core part of what was going to be here, and then everything changed, and guys got hurt, careers ended. Here came free agency, and Soto's been moved. So, but that left fielder, that'd be fun to watch him and see what he does against the Padres here, because I think he's got 21 or 22 home runs already, and we're not to the All-Star break.
And he's good friends with Jackson Merrill. I mean, They grew up in Maryland together. What's interesting about this whole situation is the Padres gave up a ton to get Juan Soto. If the Padres win a World Series, everyone's fine, you know, with giving away all this talent. We knew it was a lot of talent. But it's interesting that the Nationals have hit on every one of those guys.
Yep.
You know, usually you'll get one gem, a couple of guys are mid, a few guys flame out. And there's still this kid, Susanna, who was like a flamethrower. He's still in the minors. You know, it also kind of gives you a sense of Preller drafts well, you know, and you say Preller's got boots on the ground. Preller can reload. So, you know, this deal didn't work out for the Padres, but, you know, you got to applaud James Wood. He's having a great rookie season.
I concur. And, you know, a side part to the Washington Nationals deal was that they then turned around and they made a trade. You know, Soto wound up going to the Yankees, and then part of what they got from the Yankees wound up going to the White Sox, and that brought them Dylan Cease. Although Cease hasn't pitched him deep into postseason, and last I checked, I haven't been to a World Series game yet at Petco Park, and you haven't either.
No.
So there's still work to be done here. So, but the Soto trade turned out to be a big win for Washington, but ownership has let that general manager down right now in terms of just not giving Mike Rizzo more resources to go get more good players to put around this consortium of young guys they have. John, thanks for being with us. Enjoy the games. Next one.
Okay, let's go here to Casey. Good afternoon, guys. Hacksaw, looks like my Dodgers are starting to pull away in the NL West. And do you see them adding in another starting pitcher at the trade deadline, which they might need?
I don't think so, because most of the guys who are hurt look like they're on their way back. So I don't know that they're going to add a starting pitcher. They don't want to have any more setbacks. But, I mean, here's Ohtani. Ohtani has had 2 one-inning outings and been dominant. I mean, he's being clocked at 99 and 100. So they're going to expand him. Obviously, Kershaw has come back, is very competitive. What did he throw? 5 shutout innings the other night? So far, so good. Dustin May is back. They're trying to build his strength. He has some good outings, good innings, and he gives up some home runs along the way. They've still got consortium of young pitchers at AAA. So I don't think they're going to do that. One of the theories is that they might be the one that makes a trade to get the White Sox outfielder Luis Robert, because they're a little bit thin in the outfield area. Although Andy Pages he's had a really good first half of the season, and he had a lousy start to the year, and now it looks like he's really become a solid major leaguer. I do think there's probably one acquisition for the Dodgers. I don't think there's a mega trade, and I don't think they're going to strip mine their farm system to do anything. They just need to get everybody who's been injured, all these pitchers, try to get as many back as they can. And I don't think we're going to see Sasaki. This impingement in the shoulder has gone on, and they got to rebuild all of his mechanics along the way. So that's the answer to my question. Yeah, they're pulling away a little bit. We still got a lot of games to be played, but the fact that they beat the hell out of the Padres 3 games in a row, I told you so. And at one point, the Padres are 7 games out of first place by the time they get done with this schedule last week. So they're going to try to chip away. But, they got shortcomings on their pitching staff, and their difference is they don't have any way to get healthy. They can't take on any more money in a contract, and I don't know that they can trade anything away in what is a barren farm system right now. So the Dodgers are in a better position to do something from the outside if they want to. I don't see how the Padres can improve their lot. And San Francisco, they fired their last shot, obviously, with the acquisition of the Red Sox outfielder, and we'll see what Raf Devers does. Frisco, they got a lot of young pitching, so maybe that young pitching will hold up in the heat of the pennant race.
Dodgers. So, I mean, think about this. Assuming all the guys that are on the IL come back, that are, that have a chance to come back this year. Imagine these 4 starting pitchers in the playoffs. You'd have Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Shohei Ohtani, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I mean, and then plus you've got Kershaw and you got all those other guys, that can still contribute. That is a running the gauntlet in a 3-game series or a 5-game series. It's impossible to beat that.
That's what $380 million will allow you to do. But you're telling me that Snell's going to come back. We haven't seen any indication of that. Glasnow, through 2 innings, clocked at 95 at Oklahoma City. That's only 1 rehab start, limited time. Glasnow, to me, based on track record of injuries, John, looks like an accident waiting to happen again. We have to see, can he build it? Can he throw 4 to 6 innings and not have complications, shoulder, forearm, etc., because they keep working on his mechanics, and he's not been able to consistently use to repeat his mechanics, which now leads to these physical woes. So the jury's out on at least those first 2. But you got Ohtani, and you got Yamamoto, and you got Dustin May, and there is Kershaw. That's not bad.
No, I mean, and there's other guys too. Is Tony Gonsolin going to?
No, they just put him back on the 60-day disabled list with a knee injury.
Okay. I mean, but still, I could name off 5 other guys' names. Bobby Miller. I mean, they got a lot of talent that they can work with here.
I concur. But if Glasnow comes back and can stay healthy, geez, they're pretty good.
Well, you said that they were going to keep him in Oklahoma City for 3 starts, right?
3 more rehab starts.
So they want to see if he can prove it, and be consistent.
Well, he's got to build on it without having any setbacks.
Yeah.
And
okay.
He changed his mechanics to try to protect his arm in the off season, and he got hurt in spring training. Yeah. And this is all a byproduct of his body is reacting differently to his delivery. And, is it the forearm or is it the shoulder?
He's a tall guy, man. A lot of levers there.
Yeah, exactly. 6'7". Okay, next one.
Okay, let's go back to our friend Matt because he gave us a couple more bucks. Hey, Matt says San Diego is the 30th in the Nielsen metrics, yet San Diego is the 8th largest city and 5th largest county. How is this possible?
That's a good question. I don't understand. Is the TV market based on population or is it based on households? So there's less household, but there's more people living in those households, which is why one metric says one thing, another says another. The reality is it's a much smaller advertising market, Matthew, than a lot of other cities. There's a lot less corporate advertising dollars here to support your franchises. It's a big issue. It's still small market America. Even though the Padres are going to draw 3 million again, the fan support here has been phenomenal. But in terms of the amount of revenue that's out there in advertising and corporate support, a lot less.
Well, it's just the geography is kind of funky, right? You're limited by
Camp Pendleton,
and then the desert to the east, Mexico to the south, and the ocean to the west. And then, San Diego County is interesting because I think the city of San Diego represents roughly a third, maybe even 40% of the total population of the county. And there's no big name corporate sponsors here except Qualcomm, right? I mean, they're Fortune 100 companies here.
No.
Yeah. So we're like this little island that's tucked away. I just wonder if there was a way they could merge the Tijuana market, Baja, as part of the overall, Nielsen metrics so it can generate more revenue.
I don't know how much, quote, corporate revenue there is in Tijuana. That John Moore's Larry Lucchino were the ones that came up with the statement, we're going to plant our flag in Tijuana and develop all these baseball fans. Well, sure, some Tijuana fans come across the border, but I just don't know there's a lot of corporate advertising in Tijuana that wants to be part of American baseball. They're supporting their minor league teams, and they support soccer in that country like you would not. That is their sport. So you're going to draw Mexican baseball fans, but I don't think there's a hell of a lot of corporate money in Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, you have to go to the Tecate Brewery. That's what I'm thinking about, man. Hotel Rosarita Beach. Okay, hey, let's keep going here. We'll go to Callan, and Callan says, "Hey, afternoon, gents. React to me the Zegras trade. We'll love to see what Verbeek does next with their salary cap being where it is. Pat has got to deliver something huge."
Well, the owner has said we must be a playoff team next season. And he said I'm willing to pay for it. And obviously, taking on Chris Kreider's contract from the New York Rangers a week ago, that's a significant addition. I think if they had their druthers, they would sure like to move John Gibson's contract off. They've got contracts that they're going to have to pay on. I mean, Lucas Dostal, the young goaltender, there's a pay bump coming for him because he's now proven he can play in this league, which makes Gibson available in some type of transaction somewhere else. But Gibson's got a big contract. Verbeek has changed this thing. I was stunned they traded Zegras, but he just did not seem to fit what Verbeek wanted as a player, and he hadn't scored goals, and he was supposed to be a goal scorer. He got here the first 2 years, scored a lot of goals, didn't play a hell of a lot of defense, and they tried to change him. I watched him a little bit last year, and he's had injury problems too. He played a lot grittier, a lot more confrontational last year, which is great, but he did that at the cost of he scored only 6 goals. And you can't pay a kid mega money and score only 6 goals. He did that 2 years in a row. And of course, prior to that, they traded Jamie Drysdale, big young defenseman who was a high pick. That was the first guy they got as they started to kind of rebuild this thing. And Drysdale went to Philadelphia too. So all these guys are going to play for Rick Tocchet, and Verbeek's got a different type of player now. Like the roster, they got to win. They got to win. Otherwise, he might not be here as general manager a year from now. Rebuild's taken forever. It's been painful. And they force-fed all their kids and had really lousy seasons. And then last year they really grew, and then he let the coach go. And now they got Joel Quenneville coming in, and Quenneville's got a great track record of teaching. So we'll see. I guess I'm disappointed they gave up on Zegras, but he wasn't scoring goals, and they're trying to make him a different player, and maybe that's not who he is.
Well, maybe I'm just guessing here. Maybe they went into, and like you say, force-fed all the young kids just so they could see who was going to pan out, who was going to make it or break it. And that's, I think, what you're saying here with Zegras. He wasn't putting up the numbers. So
he got hurt too. He had 2 different major injuries 2 years in a row.
So do you see the Ducks, now they get rid of a couple of young players here, bring in some veterans, they can make another step forward?
I think so. I mean, last year at the trade deadline, they got a heavy-duty defenseman in Jacob Trouba, former captain, New York Rangers. Now they go out and get Kreider from the New York Rangers. That guy's That's a proven goal scorer. Now, is he going to score 35 and 40 goals in Anaheim playing with all these kids, or is he going to be a 25-goal scorer? But there's leaderships and dimension things that Kreider probably offers them. They got a lot of work to be done. The Western Conference is damn hard. Holy cow. I mean, you look at Edmonton, you look at Dallas, and you just look at the West, it's just really tough. And the LA Kings get Mitch Marner. Wow. So we'll see. Hey, don't go anywhere. You're a hockey fan. We're going to be talking about this on Thursday's podcast because that'll be the eve of the draft. I do think we're going to see trades here in the next couple of days because teams are going to be moving picks around before they draft on Friday. So don't walk away. Check my website because I'll be writing a lot of hockey here. Okay, move on. Callan, thanks for being with us.
Okay, this next topic, I got two guys that have responded to this. So I want to get both their comments in, but it's the same issue. Let's go to Johnny here, and he says, Machado sounded like a jackass threatening the Dodgers. And then Richard says, fans forum, this is the difference between Manny and Ohtani. Ohtani has the guts and the class not to respond. Manny would not, and that's why Manny is the most hated player by the Dodger fan base.
I didn't understand why Manny would say what Manny said because in essence, he was threatening, there's going to be a price to pay the next time we see it. Well, why are you saying that? We just came through a real ugly set of circumstances. We are lucky nobody got really badly maimed in this thing. I'm talking about the pitches, not so much the shoving it behind home plate. But why would Manny do that? Except Manny sometimes has a history of saying stupid ass things. And I think in this case, he really did. Thank goodness Schilt tried to flip it and said, well, thank goodness we lit a candle because Tatis is okay. That's not what Manny implicated. You better light a candle because if he's hurt, you're going to pay a price. Well, why are you making those threats? We're going to fuel more beanballs. Come on, Machado. I just be classy. I thought Ohtani was really classy not to respond.
So this is awesome. This is the fun part of it all. Like Machado is a dude. He's going to be there to back up his guys. He's competitive. He's got an edge to him. And those are all the reasons we love him. So this is what we expect him to do, is to come out and say, hey, man, don't be throwing at our guys, and we're going to light a candle. And that, Toddy better
he said, you better light a candle.
Oh, you better. Yeah.
That he's not badly hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it's reading between the lines, if he's badly hurt, you're going to pay a price next time.
Why
are you doing that?
No, but why not? I mean, that's just keeping this thing going is fun. And Ohtani, that's just his nature. He's just kind of like a lovable guy with a smile. And so he just sort of waves everybody off and tries to make a joke of it.
Kershaw came out of the dugout. Kershaw was going to come back to the plate. And Ohtani's the one that saw Kershaw go over the fence at the top of the dugout. And he was going to lead the players back on the field. And he put his hands up and said, no, I'm okay.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just their natural personalities coming out. And so this is where we see the characters of the game of baseball. And this makes it exciting. I mean, as a fan, this makes it really cool.
So you think the Dodgers will respond by dotting Machado? You don't want him to get skulled.
I fully expect there's going to be a little bit more of this back and forth, and it's going to build, like you say. They're not going to play each other until August
15th. Circle that thing on the calendar. Okay, next one. Good point.
Okay, this is one here from Manga, and he says, "Hey, where is the Crusher, John Monty?" Who's that? Is that a 690 reference or something?
That's a good question. I guess so.
Okay,
I think John. Last I talked to John, I don't know, a couple of years ago. He was in real estate. He got wiped out on radio, like we all got wiped out on radio. And I think he went off and he's selling real estate these days.
Okay, let's keep moving on. Let's go here to Gordon. He goes, hey, Lee and John, another great show. What's the latest on the Cleveland Browns quarterback situation?
Shedeur Sanders. I guess I have to learn from my mistakes. That's what he said after it gets cited twice. Once for doing 91 miles an hour, the other for doing 101 miles an hour on the interstate outside of Cleveland. He got arrested twice within 3 weeks, didn't show up in court, pays the fine. So hope he learns from it. So that's off the field. On the field, the latest with the Cleveland Browns, Gord, is now they're saying they may carry all 4 quarterbacks on the active roster. I've never seen that in modern day NFL football. Usually carry 2, then you have the emergency guy on the developmental. Their theory is they think there's growth there for Shedeur. He's still the 4th quarterback in the rotation. They don't want to put him on waivers because you have to waive the guy before you can re-sign him to put him on your developmental squad. They don't want to do that. They don't want to risk that. I don't know why. because if he can't play in Cleveland, he's not ready to play in Cleveland. Why would Green Bay or somebody else take him off waivers and try to put him on their roster? So they still got 4. They got a lot of issues here. We just don't know if the guy that got from Pittsburgh and the ex-Philadelphia Eagle starting quarterback,
Kenny Pickett.
We know if Pickett's the real deal. We know Flacco's proven for a short window coming off the bench. Dylan Gabriel took a lot of snaps with the number 1s, the Oregon quarterback, but he's a rookie, and I think he's a little bit undersized. And Shedeur was strictly with the taxi squads during their OTA workouts. I do think that Gabriel and Shedeur are probably going to play in a bunch of the preseason games, and it'll just get a much better handle. But I've never heard anybody in modern-day football say we're going to carry 4 active quarterbacks on the 53. But those guys are weird in Cleveland. But the Browns operation is just out there.
Well, has Flacco said anything? I mean, we keep talking about Shedeur saying this and sometimes Dylan Gabriel saying that, but the Flacco has been kind of quiet, hasn't he?
No, but he's a proven commodity. But I think in the back of his mind, he's got to be saying, gee, I didn't think they were going to draft 2 quarterbacks. Their front office didn't think they were drafting 2 quarterbacks. Gabriel fell to them. And then the owner came in as Shedeur plunged down the draft board to the 5th round. And the owner came in, and I was told the owner made the pick. The owner told them, draft this guy at number 144 in the 5th round. Yeah. Well, we already got 3 quarterbacks. Draft this guy. Okay, so they did what the owner wanted. But so maybe he's shown enough that they don't want to risk putting him on waivers so they can get him through waivers and then re-sign him, put him on developmental squad. But who knows? Who knows? Preseason games are going to be kind of fun just to pay attention to see how they rotate these quarterbacks, etc. There's no doubt that Pickett's got to get snaps with the number 1 unit. I don't think Flacco hardly plays in preseason because I just think he's an insurance policy. So then the question is, when it's live fire in exhibition games, how does Gabriel play? And then Shedeur gets his cup of coffee. How does he respond? It'll be interesting.
It's like a soap opera in Cleveland. Okay, let's go here to Derek. And he goes, Mr. Saw, we are here. How about SGA?
SGA, complete player. What a leader. And I'll tell you what, he got banged all over the place. I don't know. I mean, the physicality of Indiana's defense was really impressive. And yet, he has the patent on the short-range jumper. His mid-level game is really good. And how he gets shots off with accuracy while falling backwards, and how he gets balance to get away from being defended and then pulling up and making the shot. He's a real star. Now, he's not a kid. He's one of the oldest veterans on that team of young players, but boy, he's really good. It was cool. He took the trophy after the presentation and he walked in and he wanted to see Halliburton in the Indiana dressing room. And he ran into Carlisle, the head coach, and they stopped and they chatted and they hugged. And again, SGA went in and saw Halliburton, who's on crutches by that point in time. That was pretty classy.
Yeah, it is classy. I mean, it's their competitors, but they have relationships, which is real. As a fan, sometimes we don't like to see that sort of thing. We want them to be enemies. But good on SGA. That team was terrific. Holmgren was great. Jalen Williams was fantastic. I mean, like we talked about Alex Caruso earlier. I mean, they just are a great team, and they're going to be set for many years to come.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're going to see them back as a power in the NBA for the next couple of years, barring, catastrophic injuries along the way. Other teams have got to deal with impending free agency. Their guys are all under long-term contracts. That's the second youngest team in 44 years to win the NBA championship. Their average age is 24. SGA is the oldest at 26.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's stockpiling really good talent.
Yeah, good on those guys.
Okay, we move on.
Let's go here to our buddy Lenny. And he says, hey, Marner's going to my Vegas Golden Knights, I hope. Phoenix Suns, don't blame them for the trade. KD is 37 and a free agent in a year.
Agree. And they've tried. That new owner has spent so much money, and we're going to make this deal work, and we're going to put together this package of guys, and they wound up with things that didn't fit. They wound up with guys getting hurt along the way. The fans love Matt Ishbia, the owner of the Phoenix Suns, but he hasn't won yet. So now they're trying this with KD. KD goes to Houston. I think it's a good fit because that's a really good young Houston Rockets team. I'll tell you, I talked to an NBA guy today. That Thompson kid, the guard, they think he's dynamic and he's growing like hell in terms of just being a complete basketball player. Houston's got a
That's Amen Thompson, right?
Amen Thompson.
Yeah.
That they've got a lot of firepower, but they were just kids. Now they got an older player. Got to see if KD can play a whole season. He's had 3 years in a row where he's had some injuries that have taken him out of the lineup for chunks of time. And we'll see what Phoenix does. I mean, there's no doubt that, Phoenix got themselves a really good player in Jalen Green. There's no doubt that Dylan Brooks is going to give them a dimension of mean street basketball that they've not had. And they're getting a lottery pick out of it. So with the 10th pick, they're going to get a good player. And they got all these other second-round picks that come in different years. And if your scouting's good, maybe you find a gem in the second round. But, Phoenix is just retooling this new owner, trying this, trying that. Thing is, don't get stuck with bad contracts. That's the scary part about the NBA. If you're inheriting veterans, you may have some bad contracts. Like Clippers may love James Harden, but James Harden's got a big contract and a lot of age.
A lot of baggage.
Yeah. And, Phoenix is stuck with Brad Beal, once upon a time, a highly regarded player, big contract. Sacramento, DeMar DeRozan's moved around the league, big contract, trying to trade these guys. So it's tough to be a GM right now because the star players get their money and they get long-term, which means that they start to decrease in terms of productivity. You're stuck with baggage and stuck with contracts. So,
well, I'm just trying to think of the Phoenix Suns. Their golden eras was the Dan Marley, Charles Barkley, like it was in the 90s, right?
Yep.
And then the late 70s, wasn't it Paul Westphal?
Alvin Adams, Walter Davis, etc.
Because they won a championship in the late 70s, didn't they?
No, I don't believe they did.
Seattle or Portland did, I think, in that era. Getting my Pacific Division guys mixed up.
I don't think Phoenix ever got there. I mean, Phoenix got to the finals. Phoenix did not win.
Okay, but even with Charles Barkley, didn't they lose to the Bulls? So do the Suns have any championships?
I don't think so.
Well, that's right. You were the guy in the Valley Sun.
Yeah.
I mean, you've covered the Suns organization.
Yeah, I was there during the transition years. They were really good for a while, but they'd never had a free agent. When Jerry Colangelo ran that team, he was so proud. None of my guys ever went to free agency. Well, the whole thing changed. Guys started going to free agency, and then they had drug problems, et cetera. And then they made trades, and they had injuries, and they went through ups and downs, and then Colangelo wound up selling the franchise. But no, they were a model franchise for a long period of time. No, I was not there when Barkley got there. That would have been fun on talk radio, the way what he says and what I say. But they got a new owner. The owner wants to win. He's going to continue to churn it to try to see if they can make the right deal. So I think they changed the chemistry of Suns basketball with the Kevin Durant transaction. We'll see if they can get more talent in there. They went between now and Wednesday, there are going to be more trades in the NBA, and between now and Friday, there are going to be more trades in the NHL.
Yeah, it's great how those two seasons almost perfectly overlap, including the draft day.
Couple more here before we go to social media.
Okay, let's jump to social media now. And let's talk a little Padres here. And this is with Ruben De La Torre. He says, Rockstar GM, how would the Padres look with James Wood, CJ Abrams in the lineup, and Gore as the ace? Face it, the Soto trade is a failure.
Concur. I mean, when they announced the Soto trade, Jay Preller told me this trade is for 3 years. This will put us in the pennant race for 3 years. Well, Juan Soto got here year one, and what a dude hit. 243. Big disappointment. Year two, lousy start. Then he hit really well. Did they go deep? No. And then he was gone. He was gone at the trade deadline. So that in the big picture, that transaction did not get us to where they want. They gave up after 2 years of Juan Soto and his attitude. And I guess in a sense you're correct, because by virtue of the Soto to the Yankees trade, that gave him stuff which allowed them to go get Dylan Cease from Chicago, but they still haven't gotten to the World Series. So, yeah, Wood and C.J. Abrams and Gore, and still having Hassel, that might have made them a different type team, still a good team. But baseball here in San Diego is really good. It's really successful. It's really fun. I mean, I go there. I got friends that go to Petco Park. I say, God, it's such an experience. It's so cool. And because the game is cool. The event, the entourage of the fans and all that stuff is really special. And it's kind of funny. It's part of me that some of the fans, it doesn't matter if they're in second place or third place or the Dodgers kick their ass. Going to Petco Park is just kind of a neat place to be. It's a destination point. Now, hopefully we're going to win a division here and we'll get to cover a World Series again. It hadn't happened yet.
I think so many Padre fans are waiting for that day. But the thing that jumps out at me here with Ruben's comment is that I mentioned this earlier in the show, that these are all guys that Preller has drafted, and think about who the Padres used to draft, way back when in the first round. I mean, remember Sean Abner when they had the number 1 overall pick? He went rounded to nothing.
Mike Ivey.
Mike Ivey was another number. That's from the 70s. He had a trouble throwing back to the pitcher, if I remember, and he had a little bit of a life with the Giants in the late 70s. But there's been so many bad drafts over Padre history, and now finally we're drafting good guys. So now we've got good guys. We're now playing at the higher level in terms of the trade market, rather than the dumpster diving with Kevin Towers.
True, dumpster diving because the owners wouldn't give them the money to do it.
Right.
So it's a big issue. But at the end of the day, if you keep talking World Series, we haven't gotten there yet.
No, yeah.
So if they're first place, if they're second place, putting on a good product, that's good. That's great for baseball. I'd rather be in San Diego rather than in Pittsburgh or Minnesota or Chicago with the White Sox or Miami or more ownership doesn't give a damn.
Well, yeah. I mean, as a fan, even as a player, it's a great place to be. I mean,
Petco is such an event.
Yeah, Chavez is great Chavez Ravine is great for all different reasons. Mm-hmm. Same with Oracle Park. But, you'd like to be a ball player here in California as opposed to in some of those Midwest cities.
Okay, we move on.
Okay, this is an interesting one. We'll talk a little Pac-12 with Texas State.
Oh, here we go, yes.
Yeah, do some homework. He says, it's all about money. Other teams in the mix can't afford their exit fees, and the Pac can't afford to pay them. So the logical choice is Texas State. With their low exit fees and the lower payout, they are getting away from the Sun Belt. Not to mention the great upside for the future of Texas State.
DG, the only point is this is all about the expansion. It's all about TV markets. You can't tell me that the Pac-12 is going to have an impact in the Dallas, Fort Worth, or even Houston TV market. Why? Texas State is right here. That's it. Where the San Marcos, Texas? That's it. There's no legacy here. You got the Texas Longhorns right next door. You got Texas A&M. You got the University of Houston. They don't carry any clout. Yeah, your Pac-12 game, San Diego State, Texas State, it'll be on network TV in San Marcos. You think anybody else in the state of Texas is watching that? No. There's no draw. It's not like I got to see Texas State play Washington State. So now there's nobody else out there. That's an issue. I would have rather gone and gotten Rice. Rice has national name, some past national credentials, and last I checked, Rice is in the Houston market, not the San Marcos market. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Well, San Marcos is right next to San Antonio, which is one of the largest cities in America.
But San Antonio's got its own program. UTSA, University of Texas at San Antonio, has grown a great deal.
Yeah, so this is a place that's got a lot of colleges all competing against each other, not unlike Cal, Stanford, UCLA, USC, and it's a growing area. To be candid, I don't know a lot about Texas State because I didn't even know there was a Texas State.
It used to be Southwest Texas State Bobcats 1AA.
1AA. So, but to your point, the Pac-12, their options
are limited.
Yeah. What else was there? Tulane, Memphis. None of those options are all that exciting either.
No, Memphis has a bigger name, but geographically, that makes no sense at all. I just would rather have them have gone back to the NCAA and asked for a 1-year waiver. Give us another year. Let us operate this thing this first year in 2026 with what we have. Let's see if we can grow. Let's see if other things change. Maybe things change. Maybe Cal Stanford wake up one morning and say, this is ridiculous. We're in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Maybe BYU says, maybe we should be in the Western time zone, and maybe BYU becomes available, though I tend to doubt it. But I just don't think Texas State brings anything to the table from a TV rating standpoint. And that's what this whole thing is about.
But it's not yet a done deal, right?
It's coming.
It's coming.
That's
but
what everybody
I just
says.
Saw that they did the deal on the media package.
Well, they did the first phase of the deal with CBS TV.
Okay.
They're going to have 4 network partners, CBS, maybe Fox, the CW, etc. But their games are going to be piecemealed all over the place. And again, are you going to really get excited nationally if you're in Miami or in Chicago or in New York? You really get excited to see San Diego State play Boise State in the quote Pac-12, which is not the Pac-12 that we used to know?
Yeah. I mean, San Diego people are going to be excited, but you're right. It is small potatoes. It's a minor league thing. But just as if they open up that tournament, the right now they're 12 or 16 in the college football tournament.
It's 12.
But they're talking about expanding that. They're talking about expanding March Madness. So if we just get all those teams in there, the Pac-12 will have a chance to prove how good they really are.
Not really. Not if the Big Ten and the SEC are going to say, oh, we're going to expand. Well, you got to give us guaranteed slots. And they're going to take most of the slots. It's just a tough time. I'd give the athletic directors, this would be a hard job to be an AD in this modern day college athletic program. And you're dealing with crisis every minute of every day, from NIL money to transfer portal to Title IX. It's a crisis. I mean, to be John David Wicker right now, they're doing the best they can in the set of circumstances they have. But I just can't buy the theory that, God, we're in the Pac-12. No, you're not. You're in the Mountain West 2.0.
Yeah.
There's not much difference. And you pissed off my friends at Wyoming and you left behind good people at Colorado State, or what the growth was at Vegas.
Well, it is hard. And for especially for, Sean Lewis in the football program, he's adding guys as fast as he can because other guys are going out the back door, so that's got to be really hard.
We'll continue to cover the story. You can argue with me, DG. I want to see him do well, but I just don't know that this is not the Pac-12 that we knew and loved and respected and couldn't wait for the football season to start. Okay, next one. Okay, let's go here. Talk some Angels baseball with Kuda. And he says, Angels just smacked Houston. Taylor Ward is streaky, but when he's hot, he can carry the team. Can they get equal value back? I don't think so. And by the way, Tyler Wade and Taylor Ward played next to each other on the Angels just fine. Confusion guy. Geez, I remember Hacksaw from the mighty 690 days. WTF. Well, we were pretty good in the mighty 690 days, and then over at 1090 because we were the first ones to do it, and we kind of set the stage. It's odd he mentions that. Tomorrow, I'm going to be on Sports Talk Radio in Philadelphia with Bill Werndell.
Awesome.
Philly Billy called me and said, you got to come on. I haven't talked to him a couple months. I do a shot with him every 3 months or so. But so we're gonna talk all things West Coast sports with him. If the Angels are going to move Taylor Ward, that kind of sends a sign fire sale. You're trying to build something there. Taylor Ward has had a really good season with power, not a great deal with batting average. Joe Adell's had a really good season with home runs, not a good batting average. Jorge Soler is on the disabled list again. He's hitting like 217. Kids have played better and better when they've been able to keep them on the field. They just, at this point, they don't have enough, but they're bringing their kids up. They brought up Christian Moore, their power hitting number 1 draft pick, an outfielder. He's not hitting for average yet, but he's hit some home runs. So it's just a slow build in Anaheim for them. And not all their pitchers have surfaced yet. I think there's probably a couple more coming. So they're not going to lose 99. The question is, if they could ever get this to 500, that'd be a step in the right direction. But they got to get some veteran star players in there. And they got such a bad set of circumstances with Mike Trout and obviously Anthony Rendon, et cetera. So they're just a team at this point. Did you see the highlight of the Joe Adell play when he hit the ball to Austin Riley on the Braves? And it was a shot down the third baseline. And Riley made a hell of a play, got like a Manny Machado play in foul territory and threw it back to first. But Odell thought it was a double. And he was rounding. He hadn't even touched first base. He was about to round it, and he got thrown out. So he didn't even know that the ball didn't get to the outfield. And I was just thinking to myself, is he not paying attention, or was the first base coach not giving him the right kind of instructions? It was just weird. Yeah. Well, they're so aggressive. They're so trying hard. They just don't have enough players on that roster right now. It's really tough. And yet these guys went to Yankee Stadium and beat up the Yankees on that East Coast road trip. I said, how's that possible? Yeah. These guys beat the Dodgers 3 in a row. How's that possible?
Yeah, and I think they beat the Padres 2 out of 3, wasn't it?
Yeah, scared the
So
hell out of them too.
yeah, exactly. Okay.
Okay, good point. Thanks, Kuda.
Okay, here we go now. We'll talk a little bit about the ice raids there at Dodger Stadium with John Lopez. He goes, Hacksaw, you're my go-to on sports because you always present an unbiased take and opinion on all things sports. You present facts spot on. I appreciate your take on recent weeks concerning the ICE immigration raids taking place not only in LA, but around the country. This will not stop at Dodger Stadium, but will spread around the country, including San Diego. Now is the time for all good men to come to the side of their country. The upcoming observance of our independence as a nation should give people pause as a reminder the reason we fought for independence in the first place.
You want me to sign that memo now?
Yeah.
No, good point, John. I just fear that we have not seen the worst of all the things that the White House has to offer. People get upset at me. That's okay. I have my First Amendment right to sound off about what I think is fact versus fiction, etc. I wish I had an explanation as to why this is happening in our country. I don't. I have an opinion about the leadership in the White House, but I'm not going to express that opinion because I don't want this thing to blow up again at the end of the day. All I can say is we sat here, what was it, 2 weeks ago with the No Kings protest.
Mhm.
And they drew 5.1 million people nationwide that
Yeah.
all participated
Yeah.
with their First Amendment rights.
Yeah.
I hope those 5.1 million people, including you, John Lopez, will use your right to vote because that's the only thing that's going to change it. And you start that with the mid-year elections. You take every one of those 5.1 million and you make sure that they vote. And whether that's Republicans who've changed their opinion about leadership over there in the White House, whether that's Democrats who feel they got to get control of the country, the 5.1 million who express their First Amendment rights, you make sure you go back to the polls when the midterm elections to start the process to change this, to flip it and find better people. Am I right or am I right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I mean, in this case, like we talked about how immigration plays a role in sports. It's not just going to Dodger Stadium parking lot for ICE, but it's all these players. A lot of them are immigrants as well. So I don't know. I'm on your side on this one, but just because we talked about how we're fair and balanced, right? Some of the fans say we're fair and balanced. Let's get one more comment here, just to keep both sides of this. And this is from Christopher, and he says, "You are great at sports most of the time, but you suck at politics. If you're here illegally, you have no right to be here, period. You're comparing our law enforcement to the Nazis is pitiful. Also, my last name ends in a Z, and I totally voted for this in America."
Well, at the end of the day, I never said all law enforcement people were like Nazis. You go back, at the end of the day, I said the ICE immigration agents with their weapons and their face covers and their belligerence towards everybody, they're acting like Nazis. You go back and you just look at video of them rounding up the Jews in 1936 to 1940, what the Nazis did. What's happening in these immigration raids is the exact same thing. And the thing that's so bothersome to me is they're rounding up hordes of Hispanics from the workplace or at the shopping center or in the parking lot without knowledge. Is this a legal citizen? Is this guy illegal? Does he have a record, a criminal record? They're just hoarding people, throw them into vans, no explanation, no research. They're targeting everybody who's Hispanic. And then later, we made a mistake, etc. Just the methodology of what they're doing, I think, is wrong. I don't know that you voted for mass deportations of innocent people, because that's kind of what I think is going on. And like I say, you go back, you research what the Nazis did to the Jews in the 1930s leading to 1940. This kind of looks the same way. That's one man's opinion on sports. Do I want to get rid of the criminal element? Hell yes. Would I like to get the illegals out of here? Yes. We need a structure and a system. The Democrats F this whole thing up. And this guy is now mass sweeping a lot of innocent people out under the mask, under the flag of, I was given a mandate to do it, so I'm going to do it, regardless of whether it's right or wrong. That's a problem.
Just make immigration fast, easy, and inexpensive. And then they're legal. And then we're all good. you know? But let's keep moving on. Let's go here, talk about the Padres in left field. This is from Cam Ward. He goes, I'm still surprised the Padres didn't bring back David Peralta to play left field after he filled in solidly for Tatis and off the bench last year. He would have done a much better job than Hayward. But the best option right now for left field wouldn't cost a small fortune is Andrew McCutchen. He's having his best season in a long time, yet Pittsburgh is already out of the playoff picture despite Paul Skeens' heroics.
Well, we had a list a couple of weeks ago of guys that I thought that were affordable for the Padres, and maybe they should make phone calls on him. McCutchen was at the top of the list. I am kind of surprised that Peralta did not land anywhere, but then again, he's a vested veteran, and maybe his price tag was too high. Maybe other clubs said, no, we're not going to sign a guy to a $3 million contract. We don't know if he's going to bounce back or have another bad season. He didn't have a good first half of the season. He played well down the stretch for the Padres. Padres didn't even bring him back, but maybe that's because he was asking for too much money. I mean, it's kind of cool. Gavin Sheets has found himself here and has played pretty well, more as a DH than an actual left fielder. And there's no doubt Jose Iglesias is this year's successful rental free agent, but you need some of these guys to contribute, and they've struck out. If you made a list of everybody else that they had here, geez, there's a lot of guys here that AJ brought in to say, well, maybe this guy can do it. Haven't done it so far, and we're only into June.
Yeah, that was like Yuli Gurriel, Connor Joe, Jason Hayward, Brandon Lockridge,
Yep.
Tyler Wade. Who else has cycled through that list?
Well, last I checked, they had 7 different guys attempt to play left field.
Yeah. So, I mean, they've got to figure out something here. AJ will pull something off. You can count on it.
I think, he'll go find somebody, but there's limitations. He can't take on big salary. And if he wants to get a name, for example, we mentioned Taylor Ward. I was told there was conversation with the Angels about Taylor Ward, but he's not coming to San Diego unless there's something significant going to Anaheim, because he's got a year and a half left on his contract and he's having a decent power season. Well, who the Padres got that they're going to send up there? They've already got 2 catchers. They don't want Campusano, don't need Campusano. I can't believe that Campusano can play at the major league level. He might be a 4A guy. Who else is there in that Padre upper echelon of that farm system? Because if you're going to move a guy out of Anaheim, you better get somebody who can play in Anaheim immediately, not some guy that's playing in single A.
Campusano is a mystery, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he was a first-round draft pick, and they said he's got a great bat, but this catching needs to develop, right? He was like the opposite of Austin Hedges. And then they worked with him on pitching and pitch framing, but he never seemed to
grasp it.
Yeah, he never got to that next level. And then meanwhile, the bat's gone south. The bat's not working.
Well, not the major league level. He's hitting 323 at El Paso. He's a 4A player.
Yeah, it's really, it's frustrating. It's got to be frustrating for the organization and for him.
Okay, listen, we hope you have enjoyed this podcast. We salute you here because, again, if you're joining us, have not heard, we just busted through 8,000 subscribers in 2 years. That's pretty cool. And we thank you for being part of it. I hope you'll tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30 every afternoon. Hope you enjoy Fans Forum, what we're doing in the chat box with you. Hope you'll check out all the things that Dixieline Lumber has to offer. Go to Dixieline.com. Check my website. You won't believe the volume of information I put out there. I write on the website every day of the week. Join my Hacksaws Insiders group. You'll get on the email list. You do that through the website right on the homepage. Want you to share. Tell everybody. Subscribe. When you subscribe, then you get the alerts on YouTube every time we put new video up there. We do a lot of unique and diverse things. Why? Because we do sports talk the way it should be done.
Yeah.
Am I right or
That's
am I right?
Yeah,
Again,
it's nice. We talk sports pretty much the whole time, except when they do a little detour on politics.
well, politics and the intersection of sports, we're going to have an opinion.
There you go.
Hey, you have yourself, John, have yourself a great couple of days. Here comes the NBA draft. We'll talk about that Thursday. Thursday will be the eve of the NHL draft. And of course, we'll have baseball to talk about. We've got football to talk about too. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for being part of our team. Hope you enjoy what we're doing on Hacksaw's Headlines.